All right, I want to share with you something that I learned the hard way. Last year, I made my word of the year. Do you guys do that? Do you choose a word every year? So my word of the year was alignment. And I went full force into my word alignment. I thought about it all the time, especially when I was up in handstands, which any of you guys who were here last year know I probably did hundreds, if not thousands of handstands. And I really dissected what this word meant. I went into the year thinking that alignment meant ease. But what I found is it was actually one of the most uncomfortable and inconvenient truths that I had to lean into, probably in many phases of my life. But what I realized is on the other side of true alignment, which can be extremely inconvenient, and I'm going to tell you why in a moment, lies some of the greatest freedom and joy that I have ever felt in my life. And so what I realize is that alignment doesn't mean ease. It means congruency. And what I mean by that, and what I learned, is that alignment is when your insides match your outsides, when your inner desires match your outer behaviors and actions. And so maybe this sounds like, duh, that's easy, but let's play this out in real life scenarios that maybe apply in your life. Living in alignment means boundaries. It means not saying yes when you really want to say no, right? Have you ever had that situation pop up that you know is going to drain or exhaust you, or that you absolutely don't want to participate in? But instead of saying no and being true to your insides, you say yes. And so when we do things like that, we live in misalignment. And now I want to remind you that misalignments don't show up in these big, huge, breakdown moments. They're in these little tiny decisions where instead of choosing connection, we choose comfort. And so I really learned a lot last year delving head into alignment and misalignment, and I pulled it all together with some performance neuroscience, and I created a simple system of 3 anchors of realignment, recalibration. And so the way that these 3 anchors that I'm going to share can help you are like in that moment that I just described. We've all been there where we say yes when we really mean no. Or another opportunity to live in misalignment would be being tired, in the afternoon and feeling that crash. And instead of honoring it and giving yourself the 2-minute, realistically, for being honest, the 2-minute break that you actually need to move the needle, because if you followed me long enough, that's all you need. And I've got the neuroscience to prove it, that 2 minutes can downshift, can pull you out of survival mode, right? Can get you out of that go, go, go mode and give you enough reset. But instead of doing your 2, 3, 4, right? 2 minutes, 3 times a day for you. If you guys don't know what that means, grab the resource, the first link in the description. I've got it all laid out for you. Instead of doing that, you grab some caffeine and you push through. That's misalignment. That's your inside desires not matching your outside behaviors or actions. Another opportunity to live in alignment or misalignment is, I don't know, has this ever happened to you? You get a text or an email that's a little bit triggery, right? And instead of waiting and pausing and getting back into your body, we perhaps react instantly because our nervous system wants to check it off the list. This feels yucky. Let me get it done. Let me clear it out. When living in alignment would be giving yourself time to pause, giving yourself space to recalibrate, to get back connected to you, and then responding. Okay, so before I get into those 3 anchors of realignment, recalibration, I want to just remind you that alignment doesn't necessarily mean that life feels easy or that life is calmer, but it means that you are. When we're living in misalignment, we react to stay safe. But when we're in alignment, we respond because we feel safe. We know we're safe, right? So you catch the nuanced differences here. Guys, this is how we change how we're showing up in the world, because we're not focused on what we're doing. We're focused on who we be as we do it. And you've probably heard that in a lot of self-help books or motivational speeches. This is the roadmap. This is how you click in. This is how you know what gear to go into. Great, that's an awesome bumper sticker and Instagram post. This is how you actually do that. And the last thing, I loved the handstand analogy. I was literally living alignment last year, literally figuring it out. So I was doing a lot of handstands. And in a handstand, you get wobbly and you start to feel yourself falling, and it's these tiny micro catches, right, that pull you back in. And so there's such an analogy in that, like this slight misstep, right, or this slight discomfort now, when you can catch it, leads to full on linear alignment and freedom later. So again, the power is in the subtle and in the micro moments. Okay, so now the 3 anchors of alignment recalibration. So this is, I want you guys to have a tool, right? Not just like mantras or well-meaning sayings. The first step in getting back into alignment is what I like to call self-honor. Someone else might call these boundaries. I think especially for the women out there, if you're getting comfortable with boundaries, the word self-agreements might land a little bit easier. So whatever you want to call it, I call this self-honor. The 3 anchors are going to be self-honor, self-integrity, and self-with, right? So they're going to be really easy to remember. When we think about boundaries, you think about how many times are we not sticking up for what we need? Are we not letting our inside desires match our outside behaviors or actions because we're afraid of disappointing others? Self-honor is really starting in those moments to realize, how long are you going to keep disappointing yourself? So in this case, our goal is to stop feeling the desire to explain ourselves and get back to being the kind of person that listens to ourselves. When you think about boundaries and you think about, okay, like, let me play this out in a certain situation in my life, and I've got this one friend, and if I don't answer the phone when she calls, she's going to get upset. Or I've got this other friend, and if they ask me to go out and I say, I'm not feeling it, or if I say no, they're going to get really upset with me. I want you to remember this. The only people that don't appreciate you starting to exhibit boundaries are the people that have benefited from you not having them. So if holding your boundaries, if honoring yourself, if having these clear agreements creates distance between you and this person, is that a problem or is that clarity? Is that actually perhaps alignment revealed? Sometimes things are played out for us and a distance is created. And whether it's people or opportunities, step aside and get a little bit more distance so that we can have a straight shot and a path for the people that are meant for us, or the opportunities that are. All right, step number 2, the second anchor of alignment recalibration is self-integrity. Again, we're gonna make sure our inside desires match our outward behaviors and actions. So this is about getting clear on who you want to be. How do you want to show up? What version of you are you expressing when you're most proud of yourself? This isn't about the version of you that is most productive as your source of worth. This is the version of you that is most grounded, that is most clear, right? So for me, when I am my best self, my favorite self, when I am living in alignment with that version of me and that, driven towards my goals, like making the decisions that take me to what I actually want to achieve or who I want to be, I'm eating healthy. I'm basically thinking and living like a professional gymnast, right? So I'm making choices that person would make. I'm sitting down for a meal and it's no question on if I would get like the junk food or the clean food, right? I'm not spending my time scrolling. I'm spending it training. I'm not staying up late and drinking. I'm going to bed early so I can train hard the next day, right? So questions to ask yourself are, 1, what version of you do you want to pull out? Who do you need to be to do the things that you want to do, to have the things that you want to have? And what decisions would they make? How do they show up? How do they spend their free time? When they have 2 minutes between tasks, are they doom scrolling? Or are they researching or planting seeds or, maybe doing some moments of regulation, some 2, 3, 4, getting back in their body, taking those 2 minutes 3 times a day for you, that resource I have linked below, my number 1 resource and checklist, taking those moments to get out of the busy head and the do and reconnect with who they are and what they desire, right? Okay, one of the most important things I want to say here in this moment of self-integrity is, so as you are starting to pay attention to, is my inward desire matching my outward behaviors and actions, I want to make sure that we include a little of space for the power of awareness here and also some self-compassion. So one of my favorite quotes is by Viktor Frankl, and I'm going to read it so I get it exactly right, because this is a really important, powerful quote. Maybe stick this on your mirror. Between stimulus and reaction, there is space. In our space is the power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. What that means is it's the power of awareness. When you are catching yourself in misalignment, misalignments. So like last year when this was my year, I was like, I want to be super powerful gymnast. I want to create a lot of videos and content for people. I want to help especially midlife mamas get reconnected with themselves. I want to eat healthy. I want to feel clear. I want to be fit. I want to be present with my kids, right? When I was catching myself maybe in moments like doom scrolling, the power in making the switch for me was in creating the awareness. The awareness is a super cool first step, because what it helps us remember is that we don't have to do this perfectly every time. I think sometimes when we're creating new habits or shifts in our lives, when we fall back into old patterns, we get into guilt, shame, and we give up. There is so much power simply in the awareness. So if I would catch myself doom scrolling, I would notice it, right? Viktor Frankl, between stimulus and reaction, there is a space. There is a power to choose your response. That is where your power lies. The goal here is awareness. The goal here is, wow, look at me doom scrolling, because then you make a choice. And there might be a few times that you choose to doom scroll, and that's okay. The big flex here is that you're choosing, you're not just doing it without thinking about it and then wondering why everyone else is hitting their goals and you're not. You know why. You doom scrolled instead of working on what you wanted to achieve, instead of like studying the neuroscience behind the behavior that I wanted to create a video for, right? So the power is in the awareness. And remember, this is a practice. We are practicing all the time in catching ourselves in these behaviors so that when it comes time for the game, we can do it right. You would never get mad at a kid in practice for not doing it perfectly. So you think about, what is your game? Where is it that you want to perform at your peak? And catch yourself in the practices so that you can apply it when it comes game time. Here's another example. If you're someone who's maybe like, okay, this year I want to get more clear with confrontation. I want to speak up for myself. When that chick at work ticks me off with what she says, I don't want to lose myself. I want to be powerful and clear in my communication. I want to call her out. Great. Start to create awareness and notice in the moments where maybe you don't do so well or you don't play it out like you wanted. That's practice. Go home, create space, integrate, ask yourself questions. What didn't work well? What do I want to do differently? How can I show up better? And start to flex that, right? In the little moments, in the low hanging fruit throughout your day, so that when it comes game time and when Sherry from the cubicle next door triggers you, you are ready, right? But this is all about creating awareness in our behaviors, in our choices, allowing ourselves self-compassion for not always showing up perfectly, but being committed to practice, being committed to create that awareness and realize when we're making choices that aren't lining us up for our goals, our desires, and that path that we're ultimately wanting to be on. So start to create awareness and start to notice when your boundaries and your agreements slip, right? I wanted to say no and I said yes. This isn't about beating yourself up. This is about saying, okay, that didn't feel good. I got instant feedback in my body. I'm going to promise to carve out myself some space. Maybe it's over the weekend to like grab my journal and reflect on, why did I say yes when I really meant no? Create awareness. Don't beat yourself up. Who were you more worried about disappointing than yourself? Because the more we become aware, the more we can change our choices and the more we can honor ourselves and live in integrity with ourselves and what we're here to do. Okay, so the third anchor of recalibration, I kind of talked about this in the last one. This is integration. This is self-with. All right, so we had self-honor, we had self-integrity, and now we have self-with. This is where we look back on our day at maybe the choices where we slipped up and we ask ourselves questions. This is where, in the day when we're playing out the situations and we're stepping out of line with what we want and desire in our actions and behaviors, and it doesn't feel good, we ask ourselves, why did I do that, right? This anchor is about self-compassion and forgiveness. This is about catching ourselves, right? We created that awareness in anchor number 2. We created that awareness. Wow, look at me, I'm doom scrolling instead of da 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 da. Wow, look at me, I wanted to stick up for myself in this situation with this person and I didn't. I fell short again. In that moment, when you feel the ick coming up, you promise yourself integration time. You promise yourself self-with time. It might not be in that moment, right? You promise yourself a date in the next 2 or 3 days or whenever you can fit it in. And this is when I recommend you hit like a little sit spot. I've got a video on that right here if you guys want to grab that. It's the power of a sit spot and why this is important and how to build out your sit spot. I'll link it in the description below as well. This is somewhere you go in the morning or in the evening when your subconscious is open. This is the first 5 minutes as you wake up or the last 5 minutes as you go to bed. You ask yourself questions. Why didn't I stick up for myself? Why did I go out out for drinks when I knew I really didn't want to do that? Why did I say yes to them and no to me? Ask yourself these questions. This is where, you guys, this is where you build the new behavior. It's not back there when you messed up, right? You didn't ruin it. The integration, the self with time, is actually where you make the changes and habit switches. So thank yourself for messing up. Don't beat yourself up. We learn so much more from our mistakes than we do from getting it right. But the key is this third anchor of recalibration, the integration, the self with time, is key to making that happen. If you skip it, you will not match up and you will not start to live more in alignment. You will not have that greater understanding of yourself and why you are choosing these things, right? Okay, last analogy I'll give you on that. Again, think about a baby learning to walk. Think about them as they're getting their new legs, as they're practicing this new skill. You are practicing a new skill, and just like you wouldn't fault them for not getting it right every time, don't fault yourself either. We have spent so much of our lives as women doing that, and it's not serving us. So you now have these 3 anchors of recalibration. I hope my story of all that I learned about alignment and creating systems for myself to live more in congruency, to not assume that alignment means that life is going to be easy, that what I really learned was that making some really hard choices and decisions leads to ease on the other side. Again, this is what has led to more joy and freedom in my life than I've ever experienced. So I promise you, what's worth it on the other side is waiting for you. I'm not rushing you anywhere. You are already here. This is not about becoming someone else. This is actually about getting back to who you are and who you came here to be. This is about dusting off and getting some of that static so that you can shine through again. I would love to hear your guys' takeaways. I would love to hear anything that you learned. Maybe what is one agreement that you're going to have with yourself that you're going to stick up for? How are you going to start to say no to the things that you've been saying yes to? Any questions you have, load them in the comments. Remember, you've got some incredible resources below, and this is just a teaser of what I have in my new book, The Connection Code. You can find out details on that below as well. So happy to be here with you all. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Until then, let's stay connected together.